Hi everyone, I'm Allison Fagan, and this is my information on the paper that we were able to do for this course. I focused on the financial history of the Buckner Orphans Home in Dallas, Texas. And so for my research itself, my thesis statement was all about from the inception in 1875 through the Great Depression years. I wanted to analyze and discuss how Buckner Orphans Home was able to withstand financial storms due to their founder, R.C. Buckner's ability to use marketing techniques in an effort to cast his vision and the importance of taking care of orphans. And so, in this effort, I tended to focus more on chronologically presenting this data and this information. I first started with Buckner himself, how he started the ministry as almost a backdrop and also as a foundational element. I then led into the Texas Baptist Convention, assuming the Buckner Orphans Home in 1914. And then I focused most of my financial data on 1914 to about 1936. Most of my financial data came from that 1914 to 1936 range, where I sifted through financial data from the Texas Baptist Convention and the reports from 1914 to 36 that the board of Buckner Orphans Home presented to the convention itself. And so I first discussed in my paper, again, like I said before, the goals that R.C. Buckner put into place as a foundational element. So I talked a lot about his relationships that he was able to use, the advertisements he was able to put out and that were successful, and that he was able and willing to use his own capital to finance these projects and these efforts. And so I tried to really focus on the foundational elements that still existed by 1914 and that was continued by the Buckner board after his death in 1919. Now, one of the things that the board itself had to combat after Buckner's passing was that many critics thought that the Buckner home itself was a farm for child labor. And this was primarily due to Buckner, R.C. Buckner, made sure that the children not only were educated, but had some real world experiences. And so quickly into the Buckner Orphans Home, they accrued about 44 acres of land. And so they made a Buckner farm. And so by the time that the Texas Baptist Convention assumed the Buckner Orphans Home, they had over 1,000 acres that the children were in charge of maintaining. They also had a bakery and a dairy. And so a lot of their resources that they had for the children was made on site. Now, they were able to sell some of this produce, but it didn't produce enough that really made an impact on the budget. Most of their budget, from 72% to about 85, it fluctuated throughout the years. But 72 to about 85% of their budget was primarily on voluntary giving. And so not much of their budget depended on their self-sustaining nature, as many people claimed. And it really refuted a lot of the critics that felt, again, that the Buckner Orphans Home was just using these children to farm their land and make more produce. Now, I ended up to make sense of the financial data from the Texas Baptist Convention. I incorporated them into four charts and four tables, excuse me, that made the data more accessible to my readers, but also more accessible to me to show it pictorially. And so the first one shows the total cash that Buckner had at its disposal. Now, one of the things that I found most interesting is that it followed the average for the churches during the Great Depression, that on average, churches across America experienced a 30% decrease in benevolent giving. And so Buckner was no stranger to this concept as well. There were moments where they experienced increased giving, and this was in an effort to get them out of debt. And so there were moments where they had positive years and negative years. From this data, I was able to delineate where the giving came from, and I found this data very interesting as I saw individuals change throughout time in their percentages, as well as how Sunday schools increased. And finally, just for time's sake, I'll stop on table 3, where this one shows the debt and contribution ratio and how this affected the Buckner Orphans Home and their ability to break even or maintain their debt. Now, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. And I look forward to seeing the rest of your videos. Have a great night.